Hi, Michael. Yeah, it's Willy here. Long time no speak. Listen, I'm still your manager, so don't worry. I've heard all these stupid Michael Schumachers returning to F1 rumors. And I've told the press that I'm 200% certain that you're not doing it, so don't worry. We don't have a thing. What? Oh, scheiße.
Gareth Jones up speed!
The straight lines distorted. Does that mean the battery doesn't work?
Welcome to Gareth Jones on Speed, and as usual, we're talking about iPhones and Apple products at the top of the show. Hello, I'm Gareth, he's Richard.
Hello.
And he's Zog.
Hello.
It's seldom that I start this programme thinking, where do we start? I can't remember a week or a fortnight like it in motorsport. Let's start with Massa.
Yes.
Poor Massa. I think we can say that, can't we?
Well, it's one of those unlucky but also lucky things. You know, he was hellishly unlucky to hit that particular bit of bouncing metal at that speed when he did, and that having happened, probably fairly lucky to not have been more bad injured than he was.
Well, that's what's most amazing.
We're speculating a little bit there because.
But this is the most amazing thing, that spring weighed what, a pound or something?
Nearly
If that.
800 grams or so.
Was it?
What
Oh,
I-
yeah,
So
okay,
it's
yeah.
a medium-sized bag of sugar, but with the added disadvantage of
Made
being
of metal. Yeah.
and it's being fired at you at
180 miles an hour,
150 miles an hour, something like that. I don't know. I mean, we don't really know the closing speed, but the point is that, I don't know, he could have been killed, and he wasn't. And I only
20 years ago,
realised-
he would have been killed.
Oh, easily. Well, I think even less than that, because it's only in the aftermath of this that I realised that now FIA rules say that all the drivers have to wear these carbon fibre crash helmets. I didn't realise you could make a carbon fibre crash helmet, because, you know, carbon fibre, I suppose, is quite fiddly stuff, and it's also quite directionally strong, isn't it? Be incredibly
The
brittle in
strength
one
of the whole
way,
composite
and
will
then-
depend a lot on where the fibres are
Yeah,
laid.
yeah. So I
Absolutely.
don't know. I mean,
Yeah.
I guess that's carbon fibre crash helmets must be incredibly expensive, because you have to lay all that weave on.
They lay them up in a series of 15-degree layers. So you've got the strength in 180 degrees, or 360 degrees, excuse me, all the way around. But you're dead right. One ply of carbon fibre is strong in one direction.
Yeah.
But you lay it on in lots of directions and you've cracked it. Yeah.
But that is an innovation I wasn't aware of, and that's, I guess, what saved his life. I don't know whether an old-school crash helmet would have done.
I showed
Who
the
knows?
pictures of some of the concepts, the very vague, loose concepts at where F1 will go now, because of course there's going to be a reaction to this, and they will think about safety for drivers. One possibility is that we stick plexiglass canopies over F1 cars, and it is open wheel racing, it's open cockpit racing. It's one of the things we like about Formula One. You can see the helmets, you recognise the helmets, you know the drivers. So putting them in a canopy is like, that's not really Formula One. But I showed it to my sons today, my two sons. I said, what do you think of this? You know what their reaction was? Wow, that's cool, it's like a spacecraft.
It looks like a jet fighter. Although I tend to sort of agree with that point of view that sort of says you see more of the drivers in the open wheel sport if they're enclosed in the canopy, even if it's a jet fighter style transparent, you're not going to get such a good view of them. The view is bad enough at the moment, and I think you have to ask the question, just how much of an incremental difference in safety is it going to make?
Yes.
Because bottom line, there will always be an element of danger in
Of course there
motorsport.
will. Yeah.
Why we like it.
Well, it's one of the reasons why we like it, and there's a very kind of uncomfortable truth in the fact that I think there is on some level the fact that there is mortal danger involved does make the sport more appealing. I don't really sort of want to get into the psychology of that, but there's something unhealthy
Yeah, of
in
course
there.
there is,
Even though,
because
anyway,
it's a natural human craving. We get exhilarated by danger.
Yeah.
We also get exhilarated by seeing other people in danger. If you
Yeah.
saw a bloke hanging off a building like that French guy who climbs up stuff, you'd stop and stare, because there is that macabre feeling that he might fall off at any minute. But if they put canopies on cars, it's my feeling that because the Massa thing was a freak accident, now they'll put canopies on cars, one day there'll be an accident and there'll be some freak circumstances where there's a fire and the driver won't be able to get out quickly enough, and it'll burn, and then they'll say, we better take the canopies off the cars again.
That's the trouble with reactionary
this knee-jerk
thinking.
reactionary thing isn't going to get us anywhere.
on top of which, if you have an enclosed cockpit, you are going to have air conditioning or some kind of airflow management to cool the things down, because it's already pretty hot in those cockpits.
Yeah.
Let's be sensible about this. If what has happened is, as it appears to be, that it's just one of those very unlikely freak events that will happen, or something of that sort will happen every now and again, then it's terrible that Massa was injured, but that is not a big enough reason to have a fundamental change of any kind of design.
At the time of the recording of this show, Massa's not even out of hospital. We wish him well, don't we?
Absolutely.
Because I know, Richard, you're fond of him. I've exchanged 10 words with him and was utterly charmed by how such a sweetie he is.
Yeah.
And we wish any driver, even the drivers we don't like, we don't want them to get killed in the motorsport that they pursue in our entertainment. Let's be clear on that. But I've got to be very careful how I say this. If there is a good side to Massa's accident, it is the sheer couldn't have made this up idea that Michael Schumacher is joining Formula One again.
And we are 200% sure about that now.
Well, hang on, we must be more sure than Willie Webber was that he wouldn't be coming back, which makes us 250% sure.
Yeah, I'm 1,000% sure.
Yes.
Something like that.
I'm also 200% sure that percentages don't work like that.
I interviewed someone from The Apprentice recently, and they were 9,000% sure that it was right, yeah.
Actually, though, before we get into the Schumacher thing proper, let's just have a quick chat about the issue of Renault's ban at the next race.
Oh, yes.
How about that decision? Because it struck me that...
Hang on, can I ask you a question first before we explain? Because I had a big night out, very rare for me, as you know. I had a big night out and I missed the first hour of the race. So I completely missed. I've read about it.
The race starts at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. How big was your Saturday night?
I went to bed at 8:30 in the morning.
Oh, good.
That's an old style night out.
It's a proper night out. Yeah. In fact, I'm still not recovered a week later. So, will you just explain to me the circumstances which led to this wheel coming off the car? What happened? Tell me.
Alonso came for a pit stop. He left the pits with the wheel cover unsecured. It was immediately obvious that the wheel cover was loose. Ted Kravitz said so from the pits, as I recall, in the as soon as it happened.
Ted Bumhat Kravitz.
And over the course of the next few corners, and after all of the commentators had observed that the wheel was probably about to fall off, a few corners later, the wheel fell off.
And they're banned from the next race.
They're banned from the next race because they infringed the rule about having to at all times run a car in, what's the exact wording? It's something to do with sort of basic safety and
they let the car
requirements.
They let the car back into the race unsafely is the wordage, I believe.
And the key thing is that they knew the wheel cover and possibly the wheel were not properly secured, and that they did nothing to stop Alonso leaving the pits, having known it was like that. Didn't tell him on the radio to slow down at all or anything like this. And
why? Why didn't they do that? What were they doing? Were they having fags or something? What were they doing?
Well, I don't know, so I'm not even going to speculate, but it seems to me that there's an inconsistency with other stewarding decisions, because I can't recall a team ever having been banned for the next race because a wheel fell off their car. Having said that, I'm not sure that the previous incidents of wheels coming off cars that I can remember ever involved a team having let the car go out onto the circuit with a bit flapping off that they should have spotted.
Distinction. Well, there's two distinctions.
Yeah, and it is an important distinction.
I also think they probably had to be seen to do something because, of course, the week before Henry Surtees was killed by a wheel coming off, so they have to make it look like they're taking action against these things.
And Massa had been injured the previous day.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's just a bad time. So,
but is it fair on the teams to penalise those kind of things more harshly in the light of recent events if it hasn't been made clear that that's what you're going to do? I don't know, maybe the teams were all told before the race that there would be absolutely, there was like going to be zero tolerance for any...
Yeah, but then you say that, but I suppose the converse argument there as well, you'd say to the teams, now we're going to really clamp down on any safety transgression, so do make sure you put all your wheels on properly. I mean, the teams would go, well, we do. You know, it's like that was, again, not a freak accident, I don't know what it was, sloppiness, a faulty bolt, I'm not sure what the outcome of that is, but you can't really say now, do be safe. It's one of those weird little ticks that I don't know whether you have, but I certainly, whenever I leave the house, quite often my girlfriend will say to me, I drive safely. And it's just one of those little things you say. Yeah. It's like, I can't leave the house without saying, see you later.
Yeah.
Because if I don't say it, I have this horrible feeling I won't see anyone later. I know that sounds stupid.
It's like a verbal tick.
It is a verbal tick. And I remember my parents used to do it to me when I first learned to drive, and after a while I felt like sitting around and going, no, actually I was going to drive recklessly today. Is that okay? I just say, I didn't.
You teenager, you.
I know, exactly. God, you little and I still am. But I think that the thing is you can't extra legislate for it because it's not their advantage to make a shoddy job of putting the wheel on. They really screwed Renault. Did you see the fact that Flav left early? Because he'd suddenly gone, great, all my chances rest on Piquet, and I've just realised he's not very good. So I'm off.
I have to say, at that point, I really did feel for Piquet. I thought, what are you going to feel like? If you're Nelson Piquet, and once Alonso's out of the race, your team boss is leaving because, there's no point in staying anymore because
it's only a number 2 driver. That's
I think
a horrible
it's a
situation
shitty way
to
to
be
It's
in.
awful, really.
And
really
someone
bad
who-
management.
Someone who knows Nelson Piquet Jr. a little, my heart bleeds for him. It's tough enough being in Formula One.
Yeah.
It's almost impossible being in a team where Fernando Alonso is your other driver, and finally where Flavio Briatore is also your manager and your team boss. Poor Piquet.
Uncle Flavio, you made it. You come to see my school play.
Of course, Massimiliano, my favorite nephew. I always watch, especially for the children, make the Christmas nativity. Baby Jesus is very beautiful.
Okay. It's about to start. You take the seat. You gotta watch out for me. I play one of the 3 wise men. We come in about halfway through.
About halfway through. Okay, I'm ready. Hey, break the legs.
But there was no room at the inn, so Mary and Joseph had to go to the stable where Mary could give birth to her baby.
Scusi,
And then
no,
the baby
pardon,
was born.
scusi, I gotta go.
Gareth Jones on Speed, featuring Stiff Petrol!
Nuts flown off from the Renault team.
Yes.
There he goes.
There he goes.
One of the things that was a direct result of Renault getting banned from the next race at Valencia, which got me slightly excited, is a conversation you and I had over the phone, Zog, was that for a moment we thought, hang on, okay, who are the options?
Who's going
now?
to step in?
Yeah. Who's going to fill Massa's position? Hang on, Alonso hasn't got a drive. He's alleged to be going to Ferrari next year. Wouldn't it be intriguing to see Alonso in a Ferrari for this one race? Then we thought, no, there's no way in the world this is going to happen. You know, you can't take off the overalls of one team and put on the overalls of another team. It's just never going to happen. But that was so exciting for a moment. But
The other prospect we discussed was
was Michael Schumacher being the only person capable of driving that car at a pace that Ferrari would be happy with, who was on their books. There's no one else. There was honestly no one else in Ferrari's huge sphere of influence who could do it as well as Schumacher.
You couldn't imagine
Well-
Luca Badger stepping in or something. It wouldn't seem right, would it?
Well,
Mark
Mark
Genet,
Genet, you know. I think
I know.
He's
you're
all
being
right.
unfair.
He
You are
races at
being
Le Mans.
unfair to him, you know. But plus, he's going to have, and I think, well, correct me if I'm wrong here, guys, but Mark Genet is going to have more experience of the current 2009 F1 Ferrari than Schumacher does.
Grown
Yes.
up. Zog's a grown up, you can tell, can't you? Yeah.
So, well, this is the question: just how quick is Schumacher going to be? And you know, does he have much to lose? Is it? I mean, because
He's got nothing to lose.
I agree, and,
Well-
and I think it's great for Ferrari that they put him in like that. Great for the sport, but I think Kimi is still going to out-qualify him. What happens in the race, I'm not so sure about.
Can I just mention a conspiracy theory that we were talking just before we started recording about the extraordinary shot which anyone who wasn't out until 8:30 in the morning might have seen
I'll just
during
leave
the
then.
race of an inexplicable cutaway away from the action on the track, because there wasn't much, to Bernard Eccleston signing an autograph for a child.
For a small child,
And maybe giving him a shiny shilling. The whole thing was frankly bizarre.
Can anybody recall having ever seen a shot of Bernie Eccleston signing an autograph for a child before?
It was a bad enough scene that made a bit of sick rush into my mouth, as it was. And then Zog said, do you think it was a setup?
It just seems a bit of a coincidence to me that that shot turns up, bam, in the middle of a Grand Prix, just a couple of weeks after Bernie Eccleston has been quoted saying some incredibly stupid and offensive things, and maybe his image could do with a bit of a PR makeover. Go and kiss some babies. Yeah, that's the F1 equivalent.
It's classic politician tactic.
I mean,
surprised he wasn't there with his happy smiling family or something.
I mean, I really don't go for kind of conspiracy theory
No,
and all
but-
that, but on this occasion, I just
we're
think
dealing
that's
with
just so clunky. Well,
certain dark forces. You never know. On that conspiracy theory theme, it's really a conspiracy theory because it's entirely plausible. Is that
It's really a what? Because of the theory.
conspiracy? I did two things though. Most of them was I was turning into John Peel.
an 12-inch from conspiracy theory.
Yeah, conspiracy theory records, and it's called an explosion in my shoe. So I was just thinking, Willie Webber, 1 minute saying 200%, Sir Alan, he's not coming back to the sport. Oh, wait, no, he is. Now, I don't know what the TV viewing figures around the world are for Formula One this year and whether they're up or down or what. I don't know. However, you could not deny that the sudden news that Michael Schumacher is coming back to Formula One. I love the way that it's like they've got the old warhorse out of retirement. It's like one of those sort of cop dramas where the young team of agents are trying to solve the crime, and eventually they realise the only guy who can really help them here is the gnarled old agent who's retired and he's living in the desert. And it's like, get us Rex Jackson! And then he comes and he sorts it all out. No, it's like, this is get us Michael Schumacher.
Well, but
it's bizarre. He said he's not doing it, and then Bernard rings up and goes, you know what? I really think you should do it. It would make your life a lot easier. And then he looks out the window and he sees just like an S-Class with blacked out windows outside, and he thinks, uh-oh, all right. I don't imagine that Michael Schumacher's windows overlook the street somehow. I think they probably overlook land.
A lake.
And a lake,
a couple of lakes. But, I don't know. I would guess that Willie Webber didn't speak to anybody before he put out that statement. He's just
yeah, it's brilliant, isn't it?
But how well is this season working out for drama? I mean, we've had the fantastic Brawn story, which has now developed into a fascinating battle between Brawn and Red Bull for the title, and between Jensen and Vettel and Webber, three-way fight for the driver's title. And all of a sudden, bang! Schumacher comes in, and let's be absolutely clear, no chance at all that he will win the driver's championship, but he's going to be fascinating to watch.
Yes.
Do you know what
he might win a race.
I think nothing's changed. I mean it. I genuinely mean it. I seldom disagree with you, Zog, but I think nothing's changed in Formula One. We've always had the political intrigue, you know, and the latest chapter is Renault being banned. We've always had the sense of jeopardy. That's one of the reasons, as you quite rightly pointed out, why we watch it. You know, we've had Massa. We've always had the utter drama. On this occasion, it's Schumacher being brought back, as it were, from the dead. As my son pointed out to me today, Dad, it's like John Lennon coming back from the dead and the Beatles reforming. He is so excited. And finally, it's still Brawn versus Adrian Newey, the championship, as it always was. It was always Ferrari versus McLaren, and which was Brawn versus Adrian Newey. It's still Brawn versus Adrian Newey. And do you know what? That's the way I like it.
Motorsport news, and a big story this week. Kimi Räikkönen is going rallying. Be interesting to see how he gets on there. Of course, rumours abound that Robert Kubica could be taking to the special stage as well without a Formula One drive next season. But the biggest rumour of the week is that another Formula One star to hit the rally stage could be Adrian Sutil, who of course already has a great deal of experience on the gravel.
Gareth Jones on speed, made with an awful lot of interference from sniffpetrol.com.
I don't know if you're as addicted to Gareth Jones on speed as we three are, because let's face it, we only do this for fun. But if you are, you might want to subscribe to the Gareth Jones on speed Twitter feed, which is called Gareth Jones TV. So if you do the Twitter thing, go to twitter.com/Gareth Jones TV. There's a reason for that, and the reason why I'm telling you this, because we have all these ridiculous updates of things that are going on in Formula One at the moment, and one of the things that I reacted to this week was the fact that BMW have quit F1. Hands up, and it's a shame this isn't television, hands up, who saw that coming? Not one of us. I heard Brundle say something on the commentary. Well, you know, BMW aren't doing very well and they're going to be asking questions about that in Munich. I didn't think any more of it than that. And he's genuinely shocked about it because he's got a BMW dealership. Whoa. BMW, are they right to leave F1?
Well, I mean, I guess clearly for them, that is the right decision. They have a better idea about what their aims and objectives are.
Yeah.
And from our rather more limited perspective of F1, well, they certainly haven't achieved an awful lot in the last few years since they took over Sauber and moved on from being a Williams engine supplier to a team in their own right. They have underachieved, so...
What's going to happen? Is someone going to buy Sauber? The FOTA have said that they would help that team, someone suggested that they should sell it back to Peter Sauber. He's not going to come back as he can't sustain it, even in the new environment.
But I think he currently owns 20% of the team as is.
Yeah.
Quite how much money he would have to come up with to sort of to buy it back from BMW, who knows? But if BMW has made a strategic decision that they don't want to be chucking money into it, I wouldn't have thought he'd have to come up with that much to take it off their hands.
Historically, when BMW sell things, they do it for £10.
Rover F1.
How about we offer him
Towers
£11 for the team?
I think we've got it, boys.
They're on the do. Hang on,
I've got what have I got here? 15.
No, we're sorted. Look, there.
I've spent all my money on pizza.
Yes, £4.
I've got 50 quid.
That'll do it.
So we've got
that's half a season.
No, you've got a quid there, so that's. And I've got 55 quid. So we've got.
Hey,
you give me that quid.
Listen,
we've
got a tenner. We've got £11 to buy the team, thank you.
And then we can fill up the tank.
Well, we've got £45 left.
And if cost cutting comes back into Formula One and they bring the cost down to £50 a season, we're there. Failing that, we're still struggling. So actually, Johan Wildepraat, who I like to say, who's a Dutch Spaniard, really, they have such things.
Wow, imagine how lazy he is. He's stoned.
Not to reinforce any national stereotypes.
He said that he would be interested in assuming...
Sorry, he's not lazy at all. I'm sure he's very, very conscientious and busy man.
But from a comedic sense of point of view...
he's mild xenophobia.
He said that Epsilon Euskadi, his team, the nearest thing we've got to a Welsh team... I'll explain that in another conversation.
That must be quite a long explanation.
Well,
another time.
Yeah, another time, yeah. They reckon they would be interested in assuming that empty position on the grid that BMW have left and would pick it up with their Euskadi team who race at Le Mans quite successfully. Personally, I prefer to see the other option which is being discussed at the moment, and that is 3 cars per team in F1. I love that idea!
Why? Why do you want that to happen when
more
a
drivers.
bunch of teams can't even run 2 cars properly?
But because you get more stuff happening on the circuit. And the trouble with Formula One at the moment...
On the circuit.
You get a team that can't get a chassis sorted, like McLaren for a while. Not now.
I was good. Or
BMW for that matter. And then you've got 3 duffers out there instead of 2, when you could have another team with another set of answers to different things, aerodynamics and all sorts, who are making strides.
I sat, and thanks to the BBC's Red Button, watched the build-up to the Hungarian Grand Prix on the day of qualifying, where they showed the Hungarian Grand Prix from the last 10, 20 years, highlights. And over again, you saw situations like arrows with Damon driving, leading the race and having to quit out of the race in the last lap because things broke and things went wrong. Now, if you're running 3 cars, more stuff's going to go wrong. One of the problems with F1 at the moment, and there aren't many, is that stuff doesn't go wrong anymore. Thanks to these engines that have now got to last 8 seasons and gearboxes which have got to last 38 years or something, whatever the rules are these days, they have ironed out an awful lot of the failures. And the dramatic failures in the last few laps where the lead changes. Oh, he's going to win. Oh, no. What was that race at Monaco where in the last lap the lead changed like 4 times? The 4 guys who were leading the race
You're
failed.
not thinking of the one sort of in the late 70s when it changed about 8 times.
That's it,
I mean, someone ran out of gas, someone crashed, someone else ran out of gas.
And so 3 cars per team would lead to that sort of thing happening.
Well,
would make it more dramatic.
Would it? Because the thing is that you're right, the reliability has increased to such a degree. Why would the 3rd car? I know that the probability would suggest there might be a failure, but equally they might be very reliable. Now, if you've got lots of different cars, then at least what you've got is different cars of different performance and also cars at different abilities on different circuits. And you've also got this lack of team orders. If you've got 3 cars and you're thinking, I hope one of them breaks down, according to your theory, because that would make it more interesting. But if they don't break down and you've got 3 cars forming a logjam at the front at somewhere like Monaco, where it's very hard to overtake, then essentially it's just a procession. And you've got the team orders and things like that come into it.
I love team orders. I love team orders.
You don't love team orders.
Well, yes, I do. It's something to talk about.
They're interesting to talk about, but they're not interesting to watch.
Yeah, and if having 3 cars per team makes it easier to conceal team order stuff under the banner of under the cloak of we had a brake problem. That's why they managed to overtake on that bit there. And your argument that says, well, you basically want more things to break down. Well, there has to be a better way of introducing some mechanical uncertainty than just stretching each team's resources further. I'm not convinced.
I don't know. I think they invest so much in the development of the car, they might as well knock out 3 as knock out 2. Do you know what I mean? It's
if you're a Formula One engineer and you object to Gareth's use of the term knock out for all your hard work, then do email the show.
I also think it would keep Kubica in the sport rather
Well,
than...
we want that, yes.
Okay, that's
we do
the,
want
okay.
that.
Now that's an argument I can go for, but
Mind you, Kubica rallying.
Yeah.
yeah.
Before we go, because there's so much to talk about, we're going to have to leave most of it. Here's a list of things that we wanted to talk about. I know we mentioned it briefly. Henry Surtees were really sad, and I don't know Henry Surtees, but I have interviewed his father many times, and my heart is broken for him. Slightly less serious, I was going to talk about the Lotus Exige that I've spent 12 days driving recently in this show, and not just a Lotus Exige, a very special Lotus Exige. I'm going to have to save that for another show.
Yeah, I think we should save that because that's quite a long discussion, I think.
Kimmy going rallying. We've mentioned that in the... I know. What do you reckon? Is he going to be good this weekend?
Yeah, I think he'll be all right. He was pretty good last time, wasn't he?
He is.
Pretty handy, yeah.
And Zog's little hobby horse, something that you go to every year. And I know you tried to get me and Richard to go to this year, but I was out entertaining myself, and Richard, you were twittering, I think, at the time. Tell us about it, this Concours d'Elegance.
The Salon Privé at the Hurlingham Club, which is basically a very fancy car show and a fancy sort of mini country club in West London, and I just had a fantastic time there last week, wandering around looking at all of the lovely cars.
You didn't just look though, did you?
Well, no, I did shoot a bit of video, which we might try and get online podcast feed in the next week or so, so I'm just going to try and do a little edit of that. But briefly, I always play this little game when I go to that show or other similar events. Which car would you walk away with, would you drive away with if you could? Which one of those vehicles? And it really wasn't easy, because there was an Aston Martin DB4 Zagato, which is absolutely one of my just all-time drop-dead gorgeous, fantastic. There were two Ferrari Californias. There was the Aston Martin 077. But I think if I would have gone for one car, I would actually, believe it or not, I would have had to have put aside the DB4 Zagato. It would have been between the Porsche 917 that Pedro Rodriguez raced in 1971 and won several races in. I mean, yeah, what a bit of history. And the immaculate Bugatti Type 57.
You always a sucker for
I'm
Bugatti.
always a sucker for Bugatti. And this was a particularly beautiful one. So there we go.
As I am a sucker for any shooting brake, and thank you for sending me that picture of that lovely Aston Martin shooting brake.
Absolutely. Just very quick, we should discuss the whole FIA presidency, Ari Vatanen thing.
All right, go on. You have 20 seconds each on this, and we've got to go. Go on.
Okay, well, very briefly, first thoughts about Vatanen were, it looks good, talks a good game. He comes across as a sensible, decent kind of president and will be a refreshing change from what we've had. But he appears to be a complete crank on the whole climate change thing. In other words, he's a climate change denier who believes that the whole climate change thing has been cooked up by
I didn't know this.
By the hippie environmentalist lobby. And I don't really want somebody who's that incapable of, judging scientific evidence and scientific consensus.
Because me and Rich really want Ari Vatanen.
And who has what I suspect is a very ideologically driven position on that issue to be president of the FIA. I don't know, like I say, other than that, he comes across to me as a great candidate. But that really makes me wonder.
Richard, 8 seconds on that.
Well, David Bellamy's quite sceptical about climate change, and he knows his stuff. So he should be the president of the FIA. There we go, problem solved.
Gravel be great nuts. Cars have got to be organic.
He's a biologist, not a climate scientist.
We've got to end now. Cue the bit that goes...
And there it is. This show has had an awful lot of Zog in it, which I'm very pleased to say, because if you subscribe to the Facebook fan site for Gareth Jones on Speed, if you're on Facebook, search for it, you'll find it. We had some lovely messages recently saying there's not enough Zog in recent shows, so I think we've evened up the balance there. Thank you very much indeed for that.
Happy to have contributed.
Download the video that Zog is going to edit in the next 30 seconds. It'll be available sometime in the next 7 days. Minutes. He's been Zog.
Goodbye.
He's been Richard.
Bye-bye.
I've been Gareth Jones, and the next episode of Gareth Jones on Speed will be our summer music special. Bye, guys.
To send us an email, see pictures, get song lyrics, join our Facebook fan site or follow us on Twitter, go to garethjones.tv. Gareth Jones on Speed is made in London by Whiz Bang.